there any chance that the legislature will pass an alternative ballot issue to the minimum wage since you've got till August to do that?
Well, if you put it in terms of any chance, I suppose I think that there is some debate among business groups as to what that would look like, and that's probably, I think it's clear that the current proposed amendment is going to devastate the restaurant industry and the bartenders and waiters and waitresses who make their living that way. But it wouldn't have a similar effect on some other jobs, particularly heavy manufacturing, things like that. So finding an alternative, I think, is difficult. So I think there's less chance now than there was a year ago. I guess probably the best way I could answer it.
The House and the Senate had differences of opinion on how the special session would work.
Yeah.
Can you talk about why you went along with this House Bill 1 and House Bill 2, and do you think it creates any possible litigation as of?
Well, as the Bard would say, it's much ado about nothing. I don't think it causes any litigation issues. I think if the General Assembly acts and expresses pretty clear opinion on both of these bills, that I don't think a court is for some reason going to say it should have been done this way or that way. So I don't have any issue with that.
Do you think including green card holders, almost certainly going to lead to litigation, do you think that that's going to be a tough bill to find?
Well, one, including that isn't going to lead to litigation. This bill, of course, was going to litigation because that's how the folks who are trying to get this done always do things. They're going to file lawsuits. So I don't think any additional definition. I think the primary point here is that Ohioans, and I think like most Americans, think that election decisions should be made by the citizens of the state. And being a citizen is very important. Obviously, there are people who are born here have become citizens, but those who aren't have to go through a fairly rigorous process, and a lot of people do. And if you're a permanent resident but not a citizen, you can become a citizen if you choose to do that. But if you don't, you do not get the same benefits that a citizen of the United States and the state of Ohio would do. So, foreign nationals and of course, green card holders included as a subcategory of that group. As I think a couple people mentioned today, Ohioans spoke very clearly in the issue a few years ago that those folks cannot vote. That, of course, is the fundamental participation in the political system. So I don't think it's inconsistent with that at all.
Does this week's diversion delay the process at all with the capital budget? Where are you guys at on the capital budget? And what's that going to look like next month?
I don't think it delays the effort. A lot of that, I think I mentioned in a previous gaggle, we had 4,400 requests among the senators. And Senator Dolan and Senator, sometimes they call him Senator DeRossi, but Director DeRossi have been working diligently on that with all of our senators, and they've having significant conversations with Chairman Edwards and their budget director, Dan Baker. I think we're going to be able to get that done. It's probably a June 26th vote rather than a June 12th vote. But no, I don't think any of this delays that effort.
The House on HB2, the vote was 63-31. Here it was 30-1. Why do you think there was such a difference in the number of Republicans voting for it in the Senate?
Well, I think, as I've mentioned, there's a lack of cohesion. Someone said this to me the other day. There's a Republican majority caucus of 40, a Democrat minority caucus of 30-ish, and a Republican minority caucus of 20-ish. And that kind of dynamic just makes it difficult to sit down and explain to everybody on a consistent basis what is happening. A lot of what we do here is based on relationships that people have and trusting explanations that you get, leaving subject matter experts among legislators to say, hey, that's the utilities guy, that's the judiciary guy, here's the education person. I will just tell you from our caucus, there certainly was some heartburn on House Bill 2, but we also understood this was, one, the right thing to do, two, it was going to happen anyway, and three, we should be in control of the decision. So I just think that I think most of the senators realize that we've been talking about it every caucus since April. I'm glad we got it resolved.
Do you believe that either the foreign money ban or the Biden ballot fix were passed if the governor had not called the legislature in special session? And then secondly, why pass a temporary fix if the Democrats have already acted to get Biden on the ballot on the end?
Yeah, that's a good question. I mean, I think we would have gotten it done one way or another before the end of June. I think the governor's actions aided this to a great deal. I'm trying not to understate it, but I think at the end, before we would have broken for the summer, something would have happened. So I think I am, and I think most people should be grateful for his strong statement about let's get this fixed. I forget your second question.
Why move on a Biden ballot fix if the Democrats looking to have that virtual meeting?
Yeah, well, someone asked me that earlier today. One, I don't know if they'll have the virtual meeting. Sometimes people say they're going to do things and then they don't. Secondly, my suggestion a couple of months ago about why doesn't the Democratic Party just tell us who they are? And they did provisionally, and the Attorney General said, well, that doesn't work. Is some person going to sue? Excuse me, some person going to sue and say you can't meet virtually; it has to be this way. We just want to get the question answered and move on. It should be done legislatively, and there should be a permanent fix. But Secretary of State should be involved. There's a lot of nuances here and possibilities. And as I mentioned, if one of the parties said TV-wise it's better to do this after Labor Day, well then does our permanent fix that? So I think we should get it addressed.
Do you personally want to see a permanent fix before the end of the session?
Yeah, I think it would be. I mean, a lot of these fixes that I hate to say that was my idea, but I had the idea last fall when we should consecutively number these ballot issues, because we're always, my old public works director was saying we need our state issue 2 funds. Well, which state issue 2 funds are those? So I think we need to do this sequentially. Maybe we can get it done before the end of the year. So, but we really want the Secretary of State to say, here's how that should be. And there's probably going to be a lot of, if this happens, then we'll do it this way. If this happens, we'll do it this way. And that's why coming up with that permanent fix is a little more complex.
Senate President, you've said a number of times that Ohio had $14 million of foreign money spent on state issue campaigns. How can you say that is foreign money, that all that $14 million flowing in from the Washington C4 group represents the money it got from a foreign investor?
Yeah, well, I guess the answer to that is I can get somebody to detail exactly what the basis is of all of that. But the documents that I've received, the things that I've seen are that that in fact is accurate. And I think maybe what you're talking about is the 1630 fund has $200 million in it, and there's a pile of money that came in from the Swiss billionaire. I know that they're spending in a number of other states on similar ballot issues, and not coincidentally, they're all in states where there are significant U.S. Senate battles. So this is a political attempt to drive the voters they want to the ballot, not necessarily, certainly for the issues involved, but also for the U.S. Senate races that are of issues. So, I'll get you all the supporting information you need, the things the folks have given to me.
Well, I've gotten a lot of stuff from Senator McCauley and all that, and I'm not seeing the direct line of proof, to be honest with you.
Fair enough. We'll do the best we can.
I get, just to be very simple, how do you know that money, foreign money, didn't go to Michigan or California or Montana?
Yeah, we'll give you all the evidence we have. If
All right.
that's not your conclusion, that's obviously everybody gets to do that.
All right.
Okay.
Sure. Do you expect this to have a chilling effect on funds like the 1630, where, as Daryl alluded to, it's hard to trace whether or not that money is foreign money or domestic money. So then they just might not donate it all to Ohio.
Yeah, no, I think that's likely. I think all of the campaign finance laws that we have a chilling effect on donations. I mean, I've had people say to me, well, I'd like to give you a campaign, but I don't want my name filed someplace, so I'm not going to do that. Well, maybe that's just an excuse for not donating. But a lot of folks don't want to do that because their name gets reported for a variety of reasons, or they don't want other people knowing and coming in. It's kind of one of the things like a lot of people don't want automatic jury, automatic driver's license voter registration because they don't want to get called for jury duty. And we pull jury lists off of people who are registered to vote. And so there's a variety of things. So, yeah, I mean, I think anytime that you clarify what the rules are, there's more reporting requirements, somehow there may be some sort of inhibition.